What's up guys, David Gen 3 Tech here. Welcome to the channel. Today we'll be checking out two hybrid mouse pads all the way from Germany, the Walhaut V2 Black and the Beluga. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so we got two pads that the Whale, who is another YouTube reviewer over in Germany. You may or may not know who he is. He's also somewhat of a controversial person, but I've talked to him one-on-one, and he's actually a pretty nice guy. And he can just, rub people the wrong way. Mostly, he's just German. I've spent a lot of time around Germans, so I kind of know what they're like, and I think some of it is just a cultural difference. I know he has his hardcore fans and detractors, and I'm not really interested in all of that. I'm just interested in whether or not these are two pads that are worth your money or not. So first of all, both of these pads are basically 40 euros a piece, and the shipping is not cheap. I believe the total came to about $120 for both pads. So that's about $60 a piece, which definitely puts it at artisan level when you're buying from, say, Lethal Gaming Gear. Both of these pads are hybrid type pads, and they are different. They're not just a white and a black version of the same pad. They are very similar, but they are slightly different. The stitching, if you'll look, is a bit different on both of these pads. It's definitely wider on the white pad than it is on the black pad. This is actually the version 2 of the black pad. The initial drop was slightly different. I believe they improved the stitching. I was also told that both of these surfaces are heat treated, and the bases. The bases are quite similar on both pads. Both pads are 4mm thick, and they have a decent amount of cushion to them. The white pad feels a little bit softer than the black pad. And as far as the surface, like I said, the white pad feels a little bit softer, and it's just a slightly slower and has a little bit more control than the black pad. As far as logos, you can see there's a white logo on the white pad and a black logo, which is almost a stealth logo. You're really only seeing it because the light's hitting it just right, but when you're looking it down on your desk, you really don't see the black logo. So I kind of consider it a stealth logo. And I believe Walhaut means whale, or whale skin, or something like that. Size-wise, both of these pads are 500 by 500, which is a very nice, popular size. And it's larger than most of its competitors. And the stitching, like I said, is very nice on both of the pads. I'd probably say I prefer the stitching a little bit better on the black pad. It's a little thinner than the white pad. You feel the edge of the pad a little bit more on the white one than the black. Neither one is artisan level for sure, even though, like I said, you're approaching artisan level prices. Now, if you're in the EU, you can probably get this shipped to you a lot cheaper, so probably under $50. And at that price, it's more of a competitive pad. I have like 8 or 9 pads in my collection that are very similar surface-wise to both of these pads. And I know people in the comments have said that, oh, these are just AC2 pads and you stuck your logo on it. But I don't think a lot of those people understand how this works. Most of the companies that sell pads are getting them from, there's only about like 4 OEMs that actually make pads in the world that I know of. I think there's 2 in China and 2 in Taiwan. So it's just a matter of telling those people what you want, and then getting them to do the pad that you want to do. And a lot of times your sample that you agree on ends up being different than the actual production. And sometimes the reason why one brand is a little bit better is that they just complain more, and they're just send it back and make the manufacturers do it correct. And I believe that's what the Whale did here. He was very persistent, and the build quality on both of these pads is very nice, coming from one of those OEMs. I don't know which one it is, but almost every company that sells pads does the exact same thing, so it's not like he's not doing anything anybody else isn't already doing. I do know that he would like to eventually make a pad that's sourced all in Germany, material-wise, and constructed in Germany, which I think would be very cool, and especially for people in the EU, it would allow them to have a high-quality pad at maybe a decent price. But will that ever happen? I don't know. I'm very interested in that, and if whatever pads they produce, I'll definitely be happy to check out. Now, I think these are both very nice pads, and I don't have any problem recommending these pads, but there are other pads that are cheaper that will give you almost the exact same results as these pads. Maybe not the same size, maybe a little bit smaller. Especially if you're in the United States, there's definitely a few more options that are a better option money-wise than these pads. EU-wise, there's a lot of places where the Lethal Gaming Gear pads, for example, are extremely expensive to get shipped to you, while they're very affordable in the United States. So there's actually people that these pads would be cheaper. These two pads would be cheaper than the Lethal Gaming Gear pads, for example. I do believe you can get the Ode Infinity pads from Max Gaming fairly cheap in the EU, and those are probably a good alternative to these pads, which I know that those are pads that are compared to this. And I will say I do have an Infinity, which I did compare to the black pad, which is the closest one to it, and it's not the same pad. It's similar. Like I said, they're all really similar. I could pull them out, but I don't know what the point is. I've got literally 8 or 9 hybrid pads, and they all feel very similar to each other. And honestly, out of all the ones that I have, the one I like the best is the Padsmith pad. It definitely has an artisan level foam in it, which none of these pads have, and just the texture is a little bit softer on the Padsmith pad. Also, I think the Padsmith pad's down to like $35 because he's getting ready to release a new one. It's not as large as this pad, I believe. As you can see, it's quite a bit smaller. Width-wise, it's almost as wide. It's just quite a bit shorter. But like I said, it's definitely got more of a give. Now this pad, I don't know what it is shipping-wise for international people outside the United States. I think you can get it at Max Gaming, though. So, but I don't know about Asia. But if you already have this pad and you want a larger one, then yeah. And this white Beluga pad is just gorgeous. I love the color. I just imagine it's probably hard to keep clean, though. I've definitely kept my kids away from it because, white stains very easily. And you've got the black one, which just a black pad. But if you like hybrid pads or you're a pad collector, I'm definitely not going to begrudge anybody from getting these pads. They're excellent pads. They perform really well in game. And at least for the pads that I have, after the Padsmith pad, this would be my next choice. I prefer the white pad a little bit more than the black pad. Like I said, the white pad's a little bit slower. And we'll go ahead and do a little humidity test. And actually, this does a real. For a hybrid pad, like I said, I think these are heat treated, which I believe gives them a little extra humidity resistance. Yeah, so I would say both of these pads are pretty humid resistant for hybrid pads. So I definitely don't have a problem recommending these for people who live in humid environments or if you sweat a lot. Again, there's very little to fault for these pads. They're really nice hybrid pads, and they're about as good as you can get for this type of surface. Certainly I would like to see a better base and then have the stitching lowered a little bit to where the surface is up higher, similar to what they're doing on the Lethal Gaming Gear Pro pads. I'd love to see something like that. But at the same time, there's so many hybrid pads out on the market. It's kind of boring now. They're all really good, and there's lots of good options, and there's lots of inexpensive options. I mean, like the Locust pads, I think are like $25, and they're very similar to these. So it's hard to recommend these pads at these prices. The only reason to get these is if maybe it's cheaper to get a pad like this shipped to you, depending on where you live, or if you really just want, you know, a large 500 by 500 pad. You're a pad collector, or just perhaps you're a fan of the whale and you want to support them, which, you know, the main reason I did this review, just because I wanted to support a fellow reviewer. If any other reviewer came out with a pad, I know Boardsy's talked about it at some point. I'll definitely review that if it comes out. I just want to support, you know, my fellow creators. But I definitely wouldn't have paid the price that I did to buy these, because I think there's just as good as options, or very close to as good options for the price in the States. I believe Fresh said the same thing on his review, and I know he made some comments on Twitter afterwards that he wanted to reiterate that these are good pads, and that if they sell them here in the States, like at Lethal Gaming Gear, then he would definitely recommend it. And I feel pretty much the same way. If you're in the EU, then definitely look at these pads. If you want to support the whale, then go ahead and look at these pads. But if you're in the United States, unless you just really want to have these two pads because you're a pad collector, other than that, there's other cheaper pads that you can get. I mean, the Lethal Gaming Gear Mercury is similar to this pad. If you want something similar, the Odin Infinity V2 is a little bit similar to this pad. It's close. It's also a very nice pad. The X-Ray pad AC2 is similar to this pad too. Locust pad, I'm sure there's a bunch I'm forgetting. Those are all really nice options, very similar performance. And that's about it for this review. Hopefully you found it enjoyable and informative. And if you did, please leave a like. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead. And if you don't, no big deal. It doesn't really matter to me. I love making videos, and tons of good reviews coming up. Oh, and I wanted to just quickly give you a quick preview of these two pads, which are the made of soft Cordura at 5.2 millimeters. We have a speed pad and a control pad from Dornfinger, and the whale is also selling this exact same pad. It's just minus the logo, basically. Anyways, I'll have a review. I actually filmed it right at the same time that I filmed this, but I'm going to go ahead and edit the Walhaut first, and then probably the PureTrek MF1 CO1 review before I get to this one. But yeah, go ahead and check back real soon, because it'll be very soon after this review that I'll have this one. These two pads have me very excited. So if you're looking for something different, then please come back, because I think you're really going to be interested in these two pads. again, that's it, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Later.